Just thank you for joining us here this afternoon. I just wanted to start by saying that the Puna Geothermal Ventures site is stable. We believe that we have mitigated any risk to the community. As you may recall, 2.5 weeks ago when I appointed Tom Travis and Mayor Harry Kim to head a task force, we had anticipated that what might happen is that the lava flow would inundate the Puna geothermal facility. And we have been working very hard for the last 2.5 weeks to mitigate that possibility. As we stand here today, that is a possibility, but we believe that the PGV site is safe, that the actions that we've taken to quench the wells, to plug the wells, to make sure that we can control any release of hydrogen sulfide will be contained. So we feel at this point in time that the facility is stable and secure, and we don't anticipate that there would be any issue with the PGV site. As you know, a new fissure 24 has opened, and there are still much activity in the vents, and the lava flow is approaching the PGV site. We are monitoring, and we do expect that that it will be on the site and to a few of the wells within the next several hours. And with that, I'm open to any questions you might have, and we do have experts who can respond to any specific questions you might have.
Governor, for the people down there who, they hear you folks say, we believe we followed all the right steps. You guys are confident that nothing's going to happen. There's still people who doubt down there. How do they know?
Well, I would just say that clearly we monitor the site constantly. We've been monitoring air quality for hydrogen sulfide consistently since this event occurred, and I would like to remind you that the county standard for hydrogen sulfide is 1,000 times stricter than OSHA's allowance for workforce exposure. So we have a very, very high confidence that there is no hydrogen sulfide coming through that facility today, and we will continue to monitor that, and if necessary we will inform the public if the situation changes.
What would have to happen, and I know you've been asked this before, but what would have to happen over at PGV?
I just want to assure you, when we created this task force 2.5 weeks ago, we reached out and we have a team of scientists, geothermal experts, geologists, health advisors, just a blue ribbon group of professional scientists to advise the county and the state on actions taken at PGV, and we have implemented their plan. We feel confident that the risk has been mitigated. We continue to monitor and will monitor, and we do have systems in place to inform the public should we believe that there is a risk to their health.
How will the public be notified?
It's the standard civil defense notification. It would begin with the sirens in those communities that would be evacuated. We would be putting out notices on the radio, and we would be sending personnel house to house in those communities to inform them that they need to evacuate.
And what is the threshold? At what point would you know it's time to take action?
The threshold is a combination of different things that the county does evaluate and monitor. As I said, the key indicator in terms of hydrogen sulfide is 25 parts per billion, which is stricter than the OSHA requirement for allowable exposure in the workplace.
How quick is the monitoring, the sampling of air between, when it might happen and when you know?
You should probably ask that of the professionals, but they are constantly monitoring the air quality in the region. And let's be clear, we have not detected any hydrogen sulfide to point for the last 2.5 weeks.
Question. the Marine helicopters that are currently stationed at Lyman Field, they're scheduled to go back to Oahu on Monday. Will they possibly stay longer?
We will have the helicopters here as long as we believe that there is a possibility of a mass evacuation. We've been in contact with the Pacific Command, and they've been very supportive of our request. We do have a dual command that I've initiated, and those pilots are reporting to General Hara right now. If we do believe that there is a possibility that they would be needed, then we will make the request that they be extended. The purpose of those helicopters are not only for the PGV threat, it also deals with if the lava flow should inundate the highways and isolate communities where there is no access out. So we have several alternative scenarios where we are preparing for an evacuation, which those helicopters would be part of.
One of them is in case there need to be evacuations around PBG.
That is part of the scenario, certainly.
What scenario would you have to?
It's any scenario where the evacuation would not be possible by road, by ground transportation.
Is this assertion that they're scheduled to go back on Monday correct?
I don't know what that schedule is. We've made the request, and if it's necessary, we will extend their assignment to the dual command.
But made that request. You made the request that they return on Monday. Is that what you're saying?
No, we had made a requisition that they be available for 5 days or 7 days, and as we approach the end of that, we'll decide whether it's necessary to extend it.
And Governor, how do you feel the operation is going? I mean, is there anything that you guys need at this point?
No, we have been very supportive by federal government. As you know, there's a strong contingent here from FEMA. They've been very helpful in allowing us to assemble the experts that we need to serve on the task force. They've been very helpful in allowing us to think through what the options are to keep the community safe with the geothermal facility. We have not lacked for resources in our planning. We do believe that we have the full support of federal, state, and county resources so that we can keep the community safe, that we are prepared should we need to evacuate them in a timely manner. And I think most importantly, at this point in time, the PGV site is stable, and as we are monitoring the situation constantly.
But going back to the potential of air evacuations around the PGV, would that be just because of lava flow, or could that be because of air quality? You might have to airlift people out of that.
No, we have had begun for multiple scenarios from day one. So we've been planning for more than 3 weeks, anticipating any and all alternatives or scenarios that would be necessary. So the air evacuation is in the event that there is no other means to evacuate people. We do know that people, if the highway is accessible, that driving them out via vehicles and buses or other vehicles would be much faster than we would be able to evacuate people by helicopter. So as I said, the air evacuation is only in the consideration when there is no other means of transportation out of that area.
Well, as long as the eruptions are ongoing, and they have for over 3 weeks now, it looks like we'll need the assistance of those Marines at least to be on standby indefinitely.
Well, we do have several different assets that we have. We are making assessments about what scenarios are likely that we need to be prepared for. I believe that it was important that we have access to those assets right now, and that's why I made the request, and they're available to us. I will extend that request if necessary, if we believe that there's a possibility that an air evacuation would be necessary. Our main focus, both the mayor and myself, has been on the safety and security of the community. We will continue to be focused on that. Every single decision that we are making are on behalf of the people to keep them safe and informed and aware of what's happening.
Speaking of being aware, this morning they got a message, those on Blackboard who got the emergency alert, it was a very vague message saying that lava was on PGV property, but not much more. Is there anything being done to make sure residents can get more information when they need it if those alerts happen again?
You know, we are providing information to the public as we have the information available. As I said, if we felt that there was a threat to the community from PGV, we would inform them. We believe that PGV is stable right now. The wells are quenched. Those that are closest to the lava flow have been quenched and plugged. And so certainly we believe that even should the lava approach and run over those well sites, that it would be safe, that there would be no emission of hydrogen sulfide.
Regarding the mitigation, has that been completed several days ago, or have there other extra things in the last today, yesterday?
No, I mean, we actually are working on mitigation events constantly. You know, there are several other sites, wellheads that are further away from the lava flow that we continue to make mitigation efforts on. But we do believe that those wellheads that are closest to the lava flow that would be most at risk have been plugged and would not be a danger should the lava reach them.
How many are considered most at risk at this point?
No, I will allow Tom Travis to give you that information. I think there are a handful of wells, wellheads that are closest to the lava flow.
Have you been given a time frame at the going rate that the lava is advancing?
We do, and Tom can probably respond to that. We do monitor it constantly, and we update that estimate. But remember, that estimate is based on the current rate of flow that the lava is moving. It changes constantly, and certainly, you know, we do anticipate that it will occur in the next several hours. But it's hard to pinpoint exactly when that will happen.
In the event that communities need to evacuate, what's the mile radius and what communities should be on standby?
We will inform the community should there be a need to evacuate, just like we have in the other instances where it was necessary to evacuate people. It would be via a siren. We would be providing information on the radio, and we would have people going house to house to inform them that they need to evacuate the area. Okay, thank you, and I'll turn this over to Tom Travis.
Thank you, Phil.
Hello, I'm Tom Travis. I'm head of the task force that Governor Ige set up, or the leader of the task force, and we have continued to work to make the wells safe and to reduce hazard in the community. We're working with Puna Geothermal Venture, who is doing the operations as they're identified and considered necessary. Are there any questions?
Tom, what's the current status of how close that lava is to the wells, those 4 wells?
The 4 wells that you're speaking of are the wells on well pad E.
I don't know what well pad they're on.
Yeah, it's well pad E. The 4 wells are KS5, KS6, KS14, and KS3. I think the lava is approaching or is in contact with well KS6 right now as we speak.
So there is currently lava over a well.
I don't know that. I said I think.
Okay.
When I stepped out here, it was very, very close, and I think that it's very close to overrunning that well.
Now, with your research and your efforts to quench these wells, how confident are you that there won't be a reaction between those gases and the hot lava breaking and encroaching those wells? What makes you so confident about your assessment that they're stable?
First of all, we've assembled a team that has a broad range of experience so that we can identify what the hazards to the well are as the lava comes into it. And we developed a strategy which was to quench the well, plug the well, and remove topside equipment from the well so that it produces a low profile to the oncoming lava. And we've accomplished that on all 3 production wells on pad E. All 3 of those wells have been plugged. All three of those wells have been quenched. Correction, I'll stand back. Two of those wells have been quenched. We had to do a different kind of plug on KS14. But it is plugged, and all of the wells are presenting minimum interference to the lava. They're all close to the ground and covered so that the lava should go right over them.
Is hydrogen sulfide still a possibility, especially when you're talking about KS14?
It is difficult for me to imagine in what case we would get hydrogen sulfide from KS14 as a result of the intrusion of the lava. That doesn't mean that there may not be a case that I haven't anticipated, but I could give you no example of how that would happen right now.
What is expected to happen if and when lava covers a production well? Just quiet? Nothing?
Nothing. If we've done our job and we've anticipated what we need to do correctly, the answer would be nothing.
And when you use the term plug, that's the same thing as capped, am I
They're used sometimes by some people interchangeably. These wells are not capped, they're plugged, which means that the break between the geothermal resource somewhere down around a mile and the surface is a plug in the well between the two. A cap, in my mind, kind of something sits on top, and there's nothing sitting on top.
You said a week ago, I believe, that caps were on the way here. Was there any...
No, I said plugs were on the way here. I've never said caps were on the way. I said there were plugs on the way.
Okay. So would the lava roll into and down each well if it runs over?
We have cameras out there, and I'll be able to tell you exactly what happened.
Like, is it an open pit? Can you describe visually, maybe?
I think part of the difficulty here for the media is, and we appreciate being let in with the National Guard, but we're never let into that site to see the work that is going on.
If you look about where Dr. Jim is back there, maybe 12 feet, and I don't know this value exactly, but if you imagine digging a cellar several feet deep, about that big, and then the bottom of the well comes up into that square. The bottom master, the main valve that isolates what's down that well from the surface, sits in that pit. And then there's another master on top of that, so that you have two valves. Now if you put into that pit, you put cinder. Now you have a pit with cinder, and then you disconnect all of the things on top. What you see is a very low profile for the approaching lava. That's what the lava is seeing as it approaches pad E for wells KS5, KS6, KS14.
So the valves form a cover? Or is it an open hole that...
There's an open hole, but the open hole's full of cinder, so that, we filled cinder in around the valve in what's open in the hole. So it's a open hole is full of cinder now.
So the cinder is basically in the well tubes, if you will?
It's in the cellar, the hole that the well comes up into. And it's around the bottom master.
Is this the beginning of the end for PGV and power production?
Far beyond my ability to understand. I don't know the economics of geothermal power, and I'm certainly not going to get involved into the decisions that have to be made following this emergency.
How many employees remain on staff there?
I do not know. Mike Talakini, Senior Director, Mike will be up and he can answer that. He works for Format. Don't let him decide what he's called to. Are there any other questions?
What's a master?
Master's a valve.
Okay.
Big valve.
Okay.
About your size.
That'd be a pretty big valve. you for this opportunity to share what's going on with PGB Ormet. First and foremost, our main message has always been, our heartfelt and sincerest empathy with the folks that are impacted by this eruption. And from our perspective, it's always been about the eruption, and PGB just so happens to be the facility nearby the eruption. And we've always focused on, number one, safety for our employees and safety for the surrounding communities. To that extent, I'd be happy to take questions.
How many employees remain on the plant right now?
We have 30 full-time employees. Some of them work shifts because we work around the clock. So on site, there's at least 20 during the daytime, and at night, there's anywhere from 3 to half a dozen.
Are you as confident about the safety of the lava going over the wells as what we've heard from the governor so far?
I would say I'm exponentially more confident about
Can
our
you
wells.
elaborate why as to why?
Well, when this event started off in early May, we were in close communication with folks from USGS, Civil Defense, the county, including Mayor Howard Kim, and of course the state with the governor. And as soon as we had those increased frequency of earthquakes, we activated our emergency response plan. And one of those scenarios is lava inundation. And as part of that, we made preps in the event that lava would reach our facility. So when Tom Travis spoke about the cinders, the plugs, and capping of the wells, and quenching, those steps are all in our procedures. What we're doing to our wells to make it as safe as possible is not uncommon in the geothermal industry. Typical procedures like this are done for maintenance. If you need to change out those master valves, you would install plugs, you quench the well, change out the valves, and then return those valves back to service.
So anything that is done to the wells so far can be reversed and wells can be put back into operation theoretically.
That's correct. Okay. Yes.
Is gas 14 of particular concern because you've not been able to quench that well?
No. From my perspective, from PGB Ormet perspective, we've got a sufficient plug that's in there. We would have liked to have put in a metal plug, but we're confident that plug will maintain its mechanical integrity.
What kind of plug is that one?
It's a additive called barite. It's like clay. It actually increases the weight of the fluids that we pump down, and with heat, it'll harden.
How's barite spelled?
B-A-R-I-T-E.
Thank you.
Mike, are you in agreement with all the terminology being used by the state in regards to this situation? Are they using all the right terms as you see them, capping, plugging, and all that?
Yeah, I can help explain that. So when folks refer to capping, for us, it means you close the master valves, the main supply valves. That you can refer to as capping. Quenching, essentially, is just pumping fluids down into the wells that are producers because they typically have pressure at the surface. So you want to reduce that pressure. Just like my example earlier, if we wanted to change out those master valves, we'd have to reduce that pressure, or else we wouldn't want to just take the valve off and you'd have emissions to the atmosphere. So capping is closing of the valves. Plugging would be installing the mechanical plug or the barite plug.
So Tom said they weren't capped.
So there may have been a misunderstanding. Capping, from our perspective, not Tom's, is when those valves are closed. It's capped.
What do you refer to as the cinder layer?
Protection.
Added
Added protection. Yeah. The idea is you fill up the cellars. Lava comes by. It won't fill the entire cellar. It'll just move over and then minimize any lava going into the well cellar.
Is the assumption if the lava were to overtake that property and cover those wells that it would just basically trap everything that is in those wells indefinitely, I assume, unless you were to redrill?
Right. So, our wells are designed specifically with the idea that perhaps one day we'd like to recover it. The design in the cellar is a perfect example. So our plans have always been, if you look at our emergency response plan, if there is this event like we're experiencing now, you fill up the cellars with cinder, the lava comes over, we disassemble, and then later on, we determine and decide whether we go and recover those wells. Those wells have GPS coordinates. So that's one method of recovering if we decide to do so in the future.
Ask Tom, but maybe you have a better idea of how close, or if it already overran one of the wells.
It was right next to the well earlier when I spoke with the guys on location. So it looks like if it continues, if the flow continues, it'll probably cover the well. And
Just one, or is it on path for the rest of the four? Are they all in line? I mean, it could go anywhere.
Yes.
Can't predict that, but in the path that it is going, would it hit the others?
there's another 100 feet away.
Okay, so they're spaced out.
Spaced out about 100 feet apart.
And then after those four, where are the other?
The other wells are on a different pad. We call it well pad A. It's about maybe 500 yards to the south and about 50 feet higher in elevation.
When you say they're right next, or the lava is right next to the well, I mean, are we talking 20 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet, 100 feet?
Right next like you and I.
Okay, so we're talking about 6 feet.
Yeah, a couple feet. Yes. So tonight we'll see some lava on there, but again, I just want to emphasize from our perspective, from PGV and ORMAT, that the wells, the mechanical, we don't anticipate any compromise of the well's mechanical integrity. We don't anticipate any emissions of H2S from our geothermal wells.
Should that not be correct, should the integrity of the wells be compromised, is KS-14 at higher risk of producing H2S into the community?
I don't think KS-14 has high risk. All production wells have similar risk.
What is the non-production well number?
3, KS3. It's an injection well.
Do you folks have any cameras that stream, or is it just you call your workers down there and they give you the update?
We have cameras. We don't stream them. It's for internal use, mostly security and just monitoring of the plant. So yeah.
Any for peace of mind for the public, any option for them to be able to somehow see it through civil defense or any?
I think the peace of mind will come once the lava crosses over the well, and we can tell you guys that the well is fine, which is what we fully anticipate. You know, it may take some time. If the lava continues, we'll definitely share that information with Tom. He's the leader of this task force, and we'll definitely share that with everyone.
How many wells are on pad A, and what are they for?
So in geothermal, there's only 2 different types of wells, production and injection. On pad A, there are 2 production wells and 3 injection, 3 production and 3 injection.
And with that, with E, that's everything? Well-wise?
There's one more on well pad B. It's 150 feet higher elevation.
How many wells? When you say you cap it,
Right? We'll close the valve.
You close the valve. That's right. Are those valves built to withstand 2,000-degree lava?
Definitely. Yeah. So, you know, from our perspective, all of our design criteria and our studies, the valves themselves will protect the wells. We're confident in that. But, you know, with the teamwork with Tom Chavez, the governor, the mayor, we felt it prudent to step it up another level and to do the quenching and to install those plugs that we installed.
Are there any other wells besides KS-14 that are showing any signs of activity, if you will?
We've had another well that had lower pressure, but we've got a pretty good handle on that. We're getting ready to put a plug in that one also.
Is that on the same well
pad A.
Okay.
Yep.
Which well is that?
Okay, it's KS90.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's get Jim up there.
I want to say one last thing. Just want to let everybody know that the PGV team, under the leadership of Plant Manager Jordan Har, has done an exemplary job of implementing and executing our emergency response plans. And also just to let everyone know that our corporate leadership, all the way up to our CEO, Isaac Angel, has spared no resources, whatever we need, to ensure the safety of employees, to ensure the safety of the community.